Alabama at Wisconsin. Alabama is a 15.5 point favorite. Over under set at 50.5. We had to update the numbers right before we started this because the numbers are just a moving, and it was the total that's moving down. So I guess some money coming in on the under on this one. Alabama struggled to put away South Florida last week, but they rallied late to make things look more decisive. The offensive line was an obvious point of frustration as head coach Kalen DeBoer looked on and discussed multiple times, looking at the screen. Um, there was several holds that had happened for this offensive line at the worst possible time. Big plays, bringing big plays back, and it was an obvious point of frustration. Caden Proctor, starting left tackle. Everybody remembers him from the transfer portal story from this past year, going back and forth to Iowa. He stays out of this one with a bum shoulder, and it just totally set off a positional musical chairs for this offensive line and caused a ton of confusion. And that's when the onslaught of holding penalties really, really got going whenever you started mixing some of these guys up. And it, as I said, negated several long plays. Jalen Milrow, Jam Miller, Justice Haynes will look to run the football first and foremost. Kalen DeBoer has showed me something so far at Alabama. He's not looking to put a square peg in a round hole. He's going to let runners be runners, and that's what the identity of this offense looks to be. Um, you've got some really, really talented ones for sure. The questions for Bama surrounding this game are whether or not Wisconsin can stop the run and get Bama in obvious passing downs. While freshman newcomer Ryan Williams has lived up to expectations, the five-star wide receiver coming out of high school, that's Ryan Williams. Uh, the offense really still seems to be looking for their go-to pass catcher in this one, right? So, uh, who's going to do that? There's not a clear number one guy. First and second down success and a turnover-free game should lead to a win here and a cover for Alabama, in my opinion. Defensively, the linebacker core, their potential and talent is through the roof for Alabama, but they play in front of a really young secondary group. We know Wisconsin likes to run that air raid. They haven't been extremely successful with the chunk plays that you would need to be able to beat this Alabama defense, but more on the Wisconsin Badgers. Mason, what do you got?
Well, Wisconsin ain't played nobody, Mark. When you look at who they faced, South Dakota last week, they won 27-13. And against the spread, so they were 18.5 point favorites, so did not cover against the spread. The week prior to that, they faced Western Michigan. They were 24 point favorites there and won 28-14. So this is an offense that's sputtering pretty heavily right now under Luke Fickell. Not the same offenses that he had with Cincinnati, that's for sure. Excuse me. Um, so Wisconsin's offense, very vanilla, very average, 69th in the country in total yards at 386 and a half. Against those opponents, that's really bad, right? Now, I've seen online some Wisconsin fans that are just ready to throw this freaking team under a bus. Like they are ready to just throw them in a dumpster, set them on fire. Not a lot of hope coming from this Wisconsin team for this game against Alabama. Even as bad as Alabama looked against South Florida, they're saying, guys, we have no chance. Like this team is awful. When you look at how they've played, I get it. I see why they're saying that. Overall, their rushing yards so far, 183 and a half. That's good for 46 in the country on offense. That is. Again, against the weaker opponents, that number's got to tick up, especially if this is a run-first team. With Tyler Van Dyke at quarterback, who has been up and down throughout his career, you got to be able to rely on the run game if you want to have a pulse on offense. They have not been able to do so so far this season. And then on the other side of the football, defensively, they're better as a whole. But when you look at who they've faced, again, they're not playing good ball. They're 28th in total yards at 249 given up. In rushing yards, they've given up 121 and a half. That's 60th in the country. in yards per rush. They're giving up 4 yards per rush against Western Kentucky, or excuse me, Western Michigan and South Dakota. Not South Dakota State, just South Dakota. It's been really bad. I fear for Wisconsin. I fear for the Badgers this week.
I'm with you 100%, brother. Look, this is a 17-point victory for Alabama, in my opinion. Give me Alabama, give me the cover, and let's end this video.